Let's learn how to create an actual website with Ruby on Rails. We assume you already went through the first tutorial where you saw how to create Rails models for products and categories. Now we're going to learn how to create the actual site. We assume you already downloaded your project and installed RubyMine and are now ready to start developing a site with RubyMine. The first step, let's set up the actual server so that we could view our site in the web browser. Even though we haven't created any pages yet, we'll be able to check to make sure that the website works. So to set up the server, type in Rails server or just Rails S for short. This should start the Rails server. Okay, now that the server is set up, let's open it up in the browser. The default location for your website will be at localhost 3000. And there it is, that's the default website. Now let's go ahead and create actual web pages for it. So we're going to open a new tab so we could leave the server running and still do things in the terminal. Now to create actual web pages, you're going to need a route, a controller, and view files. Fortunately, Rails makes it easy for us to create all these things. We just type in Rails generate, or G for short, controller. We're going to call our controller store. It'll just be for holding general store information pages. We'll create two pages for it, home and about. Now it shows us a whole bunch of files that it just created for us. So we don't need to worry about all those right now. But what's important is it shows us store about and store home are the pages it created. So if we go back to our browser, type in store home, we now see our very own web page. And we could also check about, and we see the same thing. Now, these pages aren't so exciting, but we'll soon see how we could set it up exactly how we want them. Before we change the actual web page, let's change the URL that it's located at. So we see over here that the URL is store/about, but the store part isn't really necessary, and it'd be good if we could get rid of that. Right now, if we get rid of it, we'd just get an error because there's no page at about. But let's go ahead and change that. If we go back to RubyMine, we can open up the routes file. And we see here the two paths are defined, store home and store about. Now we're going to change about. Instead of it being store home, we change it to get about. Now we need to explain where this should go to. So we're going to point it to our controller. The controller is called store, and the action is called about. And now it'll still go to the same place, but people will be able to get to it just by going to about. So if we go back and we refresh the page, it works now and it shows the same page as before. Now let's change the other path to the home page. So actually for this one we're going to create a special route that is just for the home page, and it's going to be called root. So we change this to root, and for root we write root to, and then you say it should go to store home. And this will point it to the store controller and the home action. We can now go back to our browser and go to the home page, the root location without nothing added after the name of our site, and it indeed shows the same page as before. Now we see in this message that this page is located in AppView Store Home. So let's go ahead and open up that page. So again, in RubyMine you could just press Command-Shift-N or Control-Shift-N to search for a page. Now we see this is the actual HTML that gets showed. So we're going to change this. Instead of saying this generic message, let's say what we want to say. Okay, now if we go back to our page and click refresh, we now see our very own custom page. Now let's go ahead and customize the about page. So instead of store about, we'll say about the store. And we'll say this is a great store. Now if we go back to our browser to about, we'll see our new page. We can now run the tests on our application. So we see here all the tests on the models ran successfully. Then it started the test on the controller and pages, and we see it checked the routes, it checked the about and home page and some of the contact, and it messes up for the contact page since we didn't actually create any contact page. So that's left as a challenge to go ahead and create a contact page located at contact and give it a heading contact us. And so you'll need to create a route and a controller and an actual view page.